Welcome to part 3 of our video series of Introduction to Analysis of Variance. On the last video, I stated that the within group variance is not influenced by whether the null hypothesis is true or false. If the null hypothesis is true, any variation in the samples or the groups is influenced by any variation that you'll see in the population. In other words, it's what you would expect. The assumption is that the variance between all of the groups on the dependent variable without any intervention is equal. Therefore, the variance in the populations are assumed to be equal. However, if the null hypothesis is true, in other words, if your different treatment levels of the independent variable really do make a difference between the groups, then your group variance is going to be due to two different things. Your group variance is first going to be due to any variation that you have within the groups themselves. This is the same thing we said for within. But differences will also exist between the groups due to the variation of the levels of the independent variable. In other words, they each get a different type of independent variable, the level. And your differences are going to be due to not only the within group variance within that group, but to the between caused by the different levels of the independent variable. The differences between the groups are due to the variation in the population means, in other words, the treatment. If the populations are different, then the samples are also going to be different. So in other words, if your treatment works, if it causes a difference between the groups, you can assume that in the population, if this exists in the form of the dependent variable, it's going to cause a difference between your two groups. In the next short video, we are actually going to walk through how to do an F analysis of variance. But here's a few things you need to know. Similar to a Z and similar to a T, we have a table called an F table. We also have an F distribution. And we create a ratio with the within and the between group numbers to give us an F ratio that we will then look up on an F table. So in the next video, we're going to actually walk through how you figure an F ratio. If you'll notice, we are going to look at the variance for between the groups divided by the variance within the groups. Now we also have new names that we call the variance now. The variance for between groups can be referred to as mean squares between. And the reason we call it mean squares is that you will notice that we are going to take the means from each group and we are going to square them. The same thing is true for mean square within. We are going to take the information from the within variance, we're going to sum it and we're going to square it. And that's going to give us our ratio.